Okay, so what I was alluding to a moment ago was that in my reminder email, I didn't necessarily give. I said just bring yourselves, and that is great, but not necessary. Look, so I said that, and then immediately decided to add something. Eh. So here's the deal. I have a couple of options in my hand. Like they're both yoga blocks, and before you might be thinking to yourself like, oh good, he gave me options of different yoga blocks because I don't even have a yoga block. That's okay. We've got a workaround for that. If you have a yoga block, you might want to snag it now. If not, I'm going to put these aside and I'll speak to them in a moment. There are lots of things that you could use for what I'm going to describe. So you can see here, I reached truly, I didn't pre-plan this, I just reached for what was close. So a little pillow that was on the couch, that's gonna work for what we would be doing. This ragamuffin, this half-eaten dog toy would also work great. The bottom line is can you get an object that is light, that is not fragile, and that isn't much bigger than a yoga block? Okay, and if you've got that and you need to get it from your surroundings, why don't you everyone take a moment to do that, and while you're doing that, I'll just speak to the issue of the yoga blocks and how we're going to use them. Okay, or the whatever the prop is. So today's practice is a little bit of a play with balance, is what I alluded to in the email. I love balance practice, and I love to share what I'm practicing, right? And I think that in my own mind, and many people's minds, when we think about yoga balances, it's often in the big frame of practice. So like poses like half moon and warrior three or handstands, like yogis doing really amazing things with their bodies where they're balancing on their hands or they're balancing on one leg. Even a pose like tree, which a member of our community asked for, had requested a few practices ago. It can be quite accessible, but can also be like a deeply, deeply challenging pose. So what I've been playing with in my own practice is balance in different body shapes. So not standing up so much, and instead balancing in seated position. And that's one shape that we're going to explore today. And I should say at the outset, as is my habit, I'm here in hero pose, just because that is a comfortable way for me to hang out. Please don't always listen to your body. This pose and the fact that I go here on auto, am I aware? I'm not sure, but yeah, I think so. And I always go here, right? So if you just automatically did that, mimicking my position, and you didn't switch to this as a more comfortable position, or this is a more comfortable position, or this is a more comfortable position, whatever, then already I would say let's reset the class and pay some respect to who the real teacher is going to be, and that is you listening to your body and your mind. It's a conversation, really, right? You're listening and you're interacting with, and that can sound kind of like yoga cheesy or whatever, but seriously, if you think about it, if you are sitting uncomfortably because of an expectation across the internet when no one can see you, but have been sitting in pain, then really you're responding to that external expectation as opposed to listening to what's going on inside. And I would just always say, listen to what's going on inside, and follow that first, and then you can always check with me after. Okay. Now we're gonna actually be using these blocks on our hips, like up on our hips, because one position is going to be seated that we're working in today, and the second is going to be up in a tabletop position, so hands and knees. One thing I just also wanted to mention at the outset is that if your knees are sore, you can double up a mat. You can see I actually doubled up with 2 mats today, just to show that you can build up your mat with a blanket or what have you, to give yourself a bit more padding. You can also simply just gather the mat up if you've got one and put it over once like that, and it'll give you a little bit of padding for when we get to. That'll work for a sit as well, right? To put a little bit of padding under your sit bones. But okay, so with some of those preliminaries out of the way in terms of getting comfortable, we're going to play with balance, and we're going to play with balance in that tabletop position, and we're going to play with balance in a seated position, which again might not, I was talking about like a handstand a moment ago. the relationship between the idea that like someone standing on their hands motionless, just breathing, is actually not as far from where we are right here, right now, as you might think. Okay? So in fact, if you haven't already assumed this position, let's start here today. Okay? And allow yourself to just settle in on the mat. And we'll see if I can take this sweatshirt off because I know I'm going to be warm if I practice like this. With you, one, can I get it up and over without losing my headphones? And two, without losing my shirt. Okay. Mission accomplished. All right. So doing whatever you need to do, fixing your hair, getting it out of the way. We're not doing anything vigorous in the sense that you would need to take off glasses or whatever, although I take mine off simply because it feels more natural to me. I don't want to be tuning in to the thinking, the analytical part of my brain, and it's a lot easier for me to resist that temptation if I can't read things. So that's why I take mine off, and you don't need them to move, right? And just come into a seated position in a way that feels comfortable for you. Now, if you had a blanket or if you had a block, okay, this is a really nice opportunity to lift your bum up and place the block underneath your sitting bones. And you can see what that did there to my posture. Everything just kind of lifted right up because my hips are higher than my knees. Which is just, this isn't about being, I don't think, again, yoga teacher, right? Not anatomist or a biomechanist, but I don't think that this is only about the fact that it's a quote-unquote healthier position. It's more that this is a position that is easier for your body to support simply because you are aligned, okay? It's a lot harder to slouch here. And if you're able to raise your hips up, you can just try that. Feel the slouch and then feel that lift. Little tuck, dropping the front ribs. Hands can come to where they're comfortable, okay? If this seems like a lot of setup, or if you don't have a block and you're down here on the ground, that's okay too, okay? In fact, you can use that block for the first moment if you are, but we're ultimately gonna remove it, so totally good either way. And just notice where your body is connecting with the mat, where it's connecting with the air, maybe where it's connecting with itself, the feeling of, say, your inner knee, the feeling of your hands, where they land, either on the fabric of your clothes or on your skin, if that's wherever they land. Feel all the feels. Eyes can be open here, eyes can be closed. You might have, if your eyes were open and you were looking at me, you would have noticed my eyes close automatically because it's like a signal to my body. I'm here to practice. Glasses off, eyes closed. Eye open up by letting this, my prefrontal cortex, the thinking, the planning, the deciding brain, letting it just take a break. A less technical way of saying that is letting go of your day. Just letting go of all the other stuff that we all have going on in our lives right now. There's a lot. Build a little space, a little bubble, if you will, just for you, just for right now. Well, actually, just for us, because in a sense, that bubble contains all of us. We're all behind our screens. We're all in our separate places, but we are all here together. Even if we're separated by time, this is someone viewing this after the fact online or retaking this class after the fact. Still there. That idea of a hug, notice the position of your shoulders. Have they rolled forward? Have they rolled in? Okay? Particularly if you've got your arms out far, that's kind of a natural landing spot. And that can feel sort of natural, but natural doesn't necessarily mean best or healthy or aligned. So notice that that is a position where we tend to be in if we're Zooming or we're on our keyboards all day online. So you might try this. If your hands are down low toward your knees, just slide them up your legs slightly until your shoulders can drop back and your collarbones get long. And without squeezing your shoulder blades together, without popping your front ribs open, just bring a gentle tension to that whole area. So you're actually allowing your body to hold itself up as opposed to exerting a whole bunch of effort or leaning. Okay? And then let's let's invite breath into the practice, or at least an awareness of our breath. If you haven't been breathing to this point, please breathe. Breathing is encouraged. And specifically, awareness of breath is encouraged. Now, I'm often having to use my mouth in terms of this practice because I am teaching, but unless your nasal passages are blocked, try to inhale and exhale through your mouth. Allow your breathing to become natural to begin. Don't try to, jerk it under control or push it in a particular direction. Just notice where it's at. Notice the swing of it. The inhales and the exhales. Just admitting someone, hold on. Okay, cool. Follow your own breath. And notice that I'm not cueing numbers like count to 3, count to 5, or anything like that. If, or to the extent that you would count as a way of seeing whether your inhales and exhales match, that's fine. But everyone's count is going to be a little bit different. And we don't need to be attached to longer is better or shorter, whatever. Just let it be. Though to the extent that you're letting your breath be, let it be slow. Let it be low. Let it be low in your belly. Let it start there. Fill up low. You can even bring your right hand to your belly to feel that. Bring your left hand up to your heart. And as you let that rhythm, if it's not already, get regular, or at least your attention of it being regular, being there, is happening. Just notice which of the hands is moving. It might be both of them. It might be the top hand. That's, again, no demerit points. It's okay. Just means that we're, again, if we tend to be breathing in our chest or up into our neck, we're either being told by our body, breath is a two-way street in a sense. It communicates with us. You can keep your hands there or you can drop them down, but keep breathing. So tuning in, if your breath is labored, if it's choppy, if it's, again, I'm going to mix my metaphors here, but like if you think of it as a lake, if your breath is, it's not dead, it's moving, but it's calm, it's regular, like lapping, okay? Not choppy, not big waves and then holding our breath in pauses and that sort of stuff. Just calm, natural, letting it be. Let's use your hand one more time. So we were really front and center there at the front of our body. Can you bring your hands out in front of you, both thumbs pointing to the ceiling? And then from there, hook your thumbs around behind your hips, okay? And then take them up to your waist. So hips down here, waist up here. So you almost come up higher than that and you're feeling your low ribs, okay? The ribs on the side of your body. And on your next inhale, can you move your hands out by expanding the breath into your hands? Take a few rounds of that. Maybe sub one hand out and just bring it behind your back. Can you move that hand? Can it feel like the breath is originating low and slow and regular and all around 360 degrees? Oh, we got a lot going on. We don't even have to move our bodies. That's a practice right there. Right? There's your yoga to go. Keep going. If you've got a block under your seat, let's remove it, or anything under your seat that's going to potentially obstruct a little bit of motion. Okay? And just come to a regular seated position. Cross-legged, but like I say, you can be out. There are no rules. Find a position that is comfortable for your body. And as much as you can, giving yourself a little tone through the belly so that you're sitting up onto the most forward part of your sitting bones. In fact, let's actually wake our bodies up by finding this position. So this is a way of finding the right kind of tilt in our pelvis so that we're kind of set for success in this shape. So let's come here to where you are sitting on, essentially on your sitting bones, okay? So like on the edges, almost like there's a little shelf here, and that will come, even though our bodies are different, that's gonna come naturally if you do what I kind of, wherever you were, come up here, like I am, almost like you're ski jumping, right? So feet or ankles are flexed and feet are firm, knees are bent, okay? And then hug your belly in a little bit. Not suck it in like you're trying to like pose for like a, I don't know, a picture with a, rock hard abs or any of that nonsense. Nothing like that. Rather the feeling of just toning across your belly, like it's all pulling in towards a midline that's running through your body. Okay? Pulling from those side ribs we were breathing into. And if you've been holding your legs like I have without the support of your hands, although you've got your hands that you can put down by your sides, you'll notice that there's a fair bit of engagement going on here through our hips. Okay? And then from here, can you, whether your hands are down or your hands are up, can you just rock a little bit forward? So I'm reaching here to actually kind of scooch my seat back. Now this is really, really asking a lot of my hip flexors, the fronts of my hips. So you can even come down and just rest and rock for a moment. Or if your hands are right here, rest and rock. But what we want here is as neutral a spine as we can, not a flat back, but in other words, we're not slumped. We've got nice broad collarbones, and we're sitting up high in our seat, even when, and we've come back down into a cross-legged pattern. Okay? Whew, I got a little flush there. Even just that can be a lot. So if you need to move your body at all, just to release the fronts of the legs, you always have the option of that. Okay. So our awareness now actually today is we're going to move it away from our breath. If you were, so hopefully you're still breathing out there. Okay, keep that regular flow going through the nose, regular. And in general, as we move up through the practice or we extend, we're going to mirror that to an inhale. As we come down or come in, curl in, we tend to exhale. Okay, so it's kind of an intuitive practice. Don't worry about matching your breath to mine, match your breath to yours. Okay. And instead of focusing on our breath, we're going to focus our awareness on our seat. Okay? Oh, great, you're thinking, I got to think about my butt. But specifically, how you're balancing on your seat, how you're balancing on your butt, on your seated position here. Okay? So we're going to have a few little breath-based movements here in this seat. And then we'll throw it all together with something that's a little bit playful and challenging, okay? But what I challenge you before we get, moving a little bit more, stay with your breath. So if you've held your breath or if you lost, track of your breath for a period of time, no, negative self-talk, just pick it back up, continue the practice. That's one. The second thing is, can you keep yourself as balanced as possible in your body? So balanced back and forward, maybe if anything a little forward tilt just so that we're not slumping. Okay, can you balance side to side so you're not leaning out or leaning out? All right, good. And then hands come up toward our heart. Press your hands in toward one another, and then on an inhale, bring them up. Exhale, hands come right back down. So imaginary line coming from the center of your heart, and then as you inhale, come up, trace your fingers in front of that line, right through your chin, your nose, between your eyes, and up. You might even look up to your hands. Exhale, you can watch your hands descend, come all the way down. Good. And then from here, we're going to open up as we inhale. Hands go up like we've got two platters. Exhale, hands come in. Inhale, extend. Now, as you come out, notice how's your seat? How's your balance? Exhale, come back in. So there's a lot going on here, even though these are simple movements. Okay, now we're going to put some stuff together. Inhale, come up, balance, maybe look up. Exhale, sweep the hands out. Inhale, hands come together, and we're back home. Okay, take a breath. And then inhale. And on one exhale, we'll come in. Two more of those. Inhale. When we get down to the bottom, simply reverse. Open. Inhale to the top. Three more there. Inhale. Okay, and let that go. And really there, I think I was falling into the relaxing aspect of just that rhythmic, and naturally kind of got into a like blowing a sigh, and the sigh we really associate with relaxation. So again, still inhaling through the mouth, but you can switch and you can play with that as well. Okay, again, I don't think it's a mistake to have switched it up. To the extent that we're aware of what's going on is really what's interesting, what's important. Okay, so we're there. Let's from here. This one is fun. I think of this as, I call this like the shoulder wave. Okay, so you're gonna bring your arms out. Okay, instead of holding platters like we were last time, we're gonna take our thumbs up toward the ceiling. Okay, and just a the gentlest pull, like 10% pull of your shoulder blades in toward one another, so that maybe you're feeling just the gentlest release here at the front of your pecs, okay, the sides of your chest. All right, now we're here. What I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to do, and take a break anytime. If holding your arms up becomes a lot, just take a break, come on back. All right, take your right hand, your right thumb, and point it down. So turning the front of the arm for sure, but really initiating this turn at the shoulder. Maybe even turning the finger back in space. Okay, you can rest the other hand in your lap for now if you'd like. And then come forward on the inhale. Inhale, inhale, up, back, like you're going my way. No, going behind me. Okay, inhale, come up, through, back, on the exhale, inhale, come to neutral. Switch arms. Left. Inhale, we'll go back this time first. Exhale forward. Good. And by the way, if this is feeling crunchy at all in here, and pardon my use of the fancy anatomical terms there with crunchy, but you'll know what I think you know what I mean there. If this is feeling, especially along here, I'm not going to bore you with the anatomical language, but if this feels pinchy or tight in here, little hint, release the shoulder. In fact, let's all release the shoulder. Thumb pointing up again, and then really stretch your fingers, but stretch through your fingers and feel like it's coming right from the joint. Like you're trying to not move any part of your body or your head, but just take the arm right from the shoulder out, away from you, okay? So that's the opposite. This is actually least stable now because we're reaching out of the shoulder joint. Now, take yourself in the opposite position. Hug that shoulder joint in. You may feel like your shoulder blade is pressing in towards your spine on that side as well. Now, turn back on the inhale. Ooh, that feels different. We've plugged into our joint. Sweep through. Don't lose that plug in. Again, if that feels good. If it doesn't, you can relax it. Okay, and release. And just bring your shoulders up to your ears. And now you notice I give it a little, oh, Chloe, the puppy did not like that. But we're gonna do a couple more audible, like release. So bring the shoulders up. And this one will be gentle. All right. Is that okay with you, Bug? All right. Let's bring our arms back up. Put the two arms together. Here's the wave, okay? So what we're gonna do is first we'll go one wave like rolling together. So inhale. Sweep the thumbs down and back. Exhale, come through. And inhale, back in the other direction. Okay, and we can just kind of go with that once or twice. And then pause your right hand, keep it up, and take your left hand. So this is kind of cool because we're playing with our nervous system too. Can we pay attention and stagger movement? Okay, so we're down on the left, we're up on the right. And switch, and switch. And so the arms are spiraling here. Spiral wave? Shoulder wave? Sure. All I know is it can feel really nice, not only through the spiral line of our arms, but into the shoulder blades. Give yourself just one or two more of those. All right, and let that go. And our final action here is just some reaches, and this is a little sneak preview of where we're going in a moment. So take your, again, making sure we're not slumping. Sit forward in your seat, sit up, tall, shoulders wide, arms out, and then reach forward. You can lean a little bit, but notice the weight in your sitting bones. Can you balance that weight back? Notice the shift I just made. In other words, I'm not reaching with my body, I'm reaching with my arms, I'm reaching with my shoulders. My body is stable. Then sweep the arms back. Hands can land behind you, okay, or behind you, or interlace the fingers behind you. And while you're there, just give your head a little shake, like, no, this is not bothering me, okay. And then a little up and down, yeah, I'm good. All right, release the hands forward. Again, center your body, reach without losing that center. Oh, this feels very different, much more upright. I didn't get anywhere near as far, like come way out here, but now I'm actually almost, this is off my sitting bones, right? I'm actually on my legs. So we're just playing with our capacity to move, okay? Sweep back. This time I'm gonna anchor my hands, just kind of post up here and roll the shoulders back. See, sometimes giving ourselves, like closing the chain between our body and the floor, gives us a reference point so we can kind of just open things up. All right, nice. Last thing. Now, if you have a block or you have a dog toy or a pillow or anything else, as I said, here's how we're gonna put kind of a bunch of those moves that we've done together. I actually have a baseball, and I actually have this, not because, in fact, a ball would not be, it'd be a poor choice of object for the things you're gonna be using it for, but I just wanna show one other thing, is that I wouldn't ask you to practice with a ball here in the crook of your chin, because it would be super uncomfortable and sort of strange. But if you can imagine this, like, and if you don't have a baseball, I know. If you don't have a baseball, like you can see like a small orange or something, the idea here is that you can kind of notice, even as we're doing these simple, movements here, if you had an orange or a baseball there, could you hold, see, it's going to slide on me, but could you hold it here, okay, without crushing it, okay? Notice what's happened to my neck back here, or losing it, okay? Instead, we want to be in this kind of, we've got a bit of space in here, all right? Good. Now, I'm also going to use this for, you can use your block, you can use something that you are imagining. It doesn't really matter about what it is, but I'm going to take my object, and I'm not going to roll it because it could roll away. Instead, I'm going to reach it and place it and come on back. Where did I place it? Didn't I just, 10:45 on a dial, okay? I did it with my left hand. Now I'm going to see if I can reach it with my right. And then with my right, I'm going to just put it over here. And I'm going to reach it, and I'm going to feel the balance in my seat. What's happening? What adjustments have to be made for this to happen? And the left says, I'll show you, right? You do that to me, and I'm going to do that to you. See if I can get it there. All right. Right says no problem, left. Okay. Again, there's lots of ways you can sort of play with this. Oh, I think it's out of my reach. So I may have to lean, and I got it. Okay. The idea here, I guess what I'm getting to as kind of an end point for position number 1 today is, whether you can put your arms in a fancy pose like that it's pretty and it might be meditative, but I think it's maybe a little bit less useful than being able to, in your life, be mobile, be able to know where your body is in space and play with movement. Like this right here, that's a practice right there. And in fact, I have to put my glasses on for a second and check my time, how long we're going here in terms of 28. Okay, we're good. Everyone okay out there? All right, cool. So there's position number 1. And I guess what I would say is, like, truly that is the encouragement, is that, I think too often we get turned off of the idea of, as adults, so I'm not speaking to the younger participants if they're still with us, that play is somehow something that is best left to children, and that is completely false. I think that to come down in your home and sit quietly and follow your breath for a few minutes, stretch in ways that are intuitively, they make sense to you, you're not pushing anything too much, and then to do a little target practice, like to just play with your mobility and see how you move in space. Maybe it's up here, maybe it's, oh, can I get this book off of the shelf? And that's all just really about improving the quality of your life. And not in a pragmatic, like, I want to do something sort of way, more like, having a partnership with your body and learning how it works and how it operates and what it needs, and you're really cultivating that relationship. Oh my gosh, I'm going full yoga nerd there. Let's transition in a way that makes sense for you to come to tabletop. So we're going to be on our hands and knees padded if you wish. So you might take your hands to one side and swing your legs out and come up, okay? Or you might come to this ready position and bring your hands to the side and come up into a little squat, okay? And then come back down. There's lots of different ways. Do the one that feels natural for you, okay? The one that's calling out to you. But that, again, there's a way that you can play where if you are down, and truly here, the ability as a predictor of well-being as we age, the ability to get, it's simple, like it really is. We want to be as mobile as we can, and we want to have the ability to get up and down to the best of our ability, and respecting what our particular situations might be from time to time. Like, not all moves are going to be accessible to all bodies at all times. That's okay. What we want to do is respect our bodies enough to explore whatever range of motion we've got, so that it can be what it can be. And the cool thing is, if you're enjoying how your body feels right now, you're already experiencing why that practice works, okay? How that relationship is built. Here endeth the sermon. Okay, we're coming down to hands and knees. And just our 4 sort of posts here. So knees underneath our hips, roughly. So often we'll sneak our knees forward and tip our tails back. So just notice there, if it looks like your knees have come forward of your hips, just take them back in space a little bit, okay? And same thing here with our shoulders. If they're rolling in, can you roll the eyes or creases of your elbows forward to open those shoulders up, okay? Good. And then from here, let's just give ourselves a little cat and cow action. So inhale, drop the belly, shin and tail rise, okay? Exhale, curl the body. Okay, and here, like if something's feeling, for instance, I think for a long time, I was in too short cat-cow and it didn't feel comfortable. Like, play with this. Move one hand forward. Continue the action. Just like one handprint forward. Notice how that switches it up. Maybe you have a little bit more room. Okay, switch it the other way. Maybe take your ribs out to one side, breathe into those ribs. Maybe bring them up to the other side. Breathe into them. So like you're like a dog wagging its tail. Boom, boom, boom. All right? Bring the hands back in. Again, not taking ourselves too seriously, because why exactly? Right? Okay, so just letting your body move in ways that kind of call out in the moment. See, this is the good thing too. You're at home. No one is watching. Or if they are, they're also in your home, right? Like, you are free to do your thing. Okay. From here, we're going to build another little bit of heat as we did last time. Let's first just build a little bit of pliability in our wrists. So if you look at the crease of your wrists, can you make them roughly parallel with the front of your mat? So you're not turned in, you're not turned out, but all of our, like my hands naturally turn out a little bit, okay? And that puts me in a healthy position for my shoulders. So we just want to avoid this kind of internally rotated stuff. All right, you're here. And then maybe lean forward a little bit over your wrists. Gently, not too far, okay? Maybe take one hand back and then the other, and you can sit your bum back any amount. Any amount means not at all, okay? If you come forward, it's going to be less. If you drop back, it's going to be more. Okay, we'll switch. Fingers pointing towards knees, coming onto the tops of our hands, so gentle, gentle, gentle here, especially if this is a range of motion that you don't normally go in, which we don't, but we're just kind of waking our wrists up, come back the other way, return, spread those fingers wide, return, good, and then we'll come back into our tabletop. From here, a little heat. So tuck your toes, okay, and really curl them into the mat, okay, and then from here, what I'm going to ask you to do is lift both of your knees 1 inch off the mat. And if that feels like too much, come on back down, take one knee up. And then you can play with the other, okay, or maybe both. And breathe. Feel like you're bringing your tail forward towards the front of your mat. Feel like you're bringing your sternum, your heart, down toward your knees. Without compromising your back, you can probably hear the shake in my voice. 3, 2, 1. Release back down. And then come on back to a child's pose if that feels good to you by taking your hips back towards your heels. Hands come forward in space. And then maybe stepping your right hand out and your left hand across toward the right corner of your mat. While you do that, here's where we can be aware of our hips in space or sitting bones. Your left sitting bone, the opposite sitting bone. Can you sit it down away from the fingers of your left hand? Stretch with the left hand. Breathe into the stretched part of the body. Come on, around. Other side. Good. And release. And we're going to come back up out of our child's pose. Now, I didn't give you much warning about that on purpose, but this time you know it's coming. So look, this isn't meant to be punishment, but building up our core stability, our ability to stabilize, that is a big component of balance. So you're here, okay? And maybe you float your knees up, okay? Maybe if you want an extra challenge, float one set of toes. Ooh, that's a lot more. They can come down, float the others if you were doing that. They can come down. After this, we levitate. 3, 2, 1. Come on down. Come on back to your child's pose again. And this time, let's actually bring our knees as wide as your mat, or in that vicinity. Might be a little less, might be a little more. So we've got this space, and then you can kind of just come down through the middle. Again, notice where your hips are. Notice the tendency for them to want to kind of rise up. Can you, without pushing, let this be a resting pose, but let them also drop back. Notice what's happened to your breath. If you've lost it, if it's kind of lost its way, find it. Bring it back in. Come on back up. And from here, we're going to stay in a sort of a sitting knee position. So what I'm going to ask you to do is curl your toes, and then we're just going to hang out here for a moment. And you can be down on fingertips, on your knuckles, on your hands. You can be like this if you're like, oh, please make it stop. And of course, with all of these things, they're not meant, again, they're meant to feel good. So if this feels challenging, that might be something to investigate, but you don't have to, you can always just like, oh, that's enough of that. Okay, I'm cramping, and come back in. Or don't come back in. So you can be here. Ultimately, you could be, if you come up, rock your way up. One, there's a little element of balance to do that, okay, to stay stable. So you may want to kind of rock with your hands. Okay. This can feel like a lot, but this is a really, really nice stretch for the soles of our feet, okay? Now, let's take our hands out, and I'm going to show where you might want to put some stuff together here. Okay, we had some bird doggy stuff, but I think I'll save that for next time, just keeping time in mind. Instead, our goal pose, if you will, for this is going to be a little bit of getting up. Now, I want to say at the start that for some of us, either today or in general, this is not a move that's going to be accessible. And so what you want to do, I think, the game or the play here is you can still see your body, like you can close your eyes and do what's approximating the move without actually attempting it, but still visualize yourself doing it in your mind's eye. And if that sounds like a little game of, cruel make-believe, it's not meant to be. In fact, if it's happening in your mind and you're visioning it, like this is something that athletes, for instance, often will do while they're injured, they'll still go through the visioning process of their technique, and you're still wiring the same connections in your brain. Okay, so even if you're not going to ultimately rock up, like I'm going to demo here in a second, imagine it and build part of it in. Okay, so we're going to come to our little stretch for our feet. Okay, and then bring your hands just forward of the knees. Knees are on the ground. And here, if you kind of pop up onto your finger pads, you can just play with lifting your knees. That's our first move. It's just this. It's just inhale. And I don't say just, like this may be the pose. And then down. Just here. And then you can begin to experiment. Oh, maybe I can start to rock a little bit further back. A little bit further back. Now be aware of your surroundings, okay? A little bit further back. And take a break when you need to. So right there, the fronts of my shins were saying thank you, but we need a break. So do what you gotta do. Okay, ooh, there it is. Now, we're gonna, ultimately where we're gonna go with this is the idea of you can be here and rolling up, or we can be at the side and rolling up, or we can roll up and roll back. And back. And if that seems like no way, no how, Rome was not built in a day. It's here and it's here, right? Or maybe ultimately it's like one hand here. I'll show you on this side so you can actually see my hand. And I'm here. I'm just assisting. See, so this hand is not part of it. But just getting used to rocking ourselves out of this position as a different way of interacting with the world. And that was some work. You can probably hear it in my voice between talking and moving up. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, one more fun thing. Got to do this. And then we'll have a nice Shavasana and we're out. If you have your object, whether that is so I'm going to use a block. If you, like I've got, fancy wood block here, that actually, it can hurt when it falls. So the only thing is actually, you can see the foamy is more challenging. So my ego is saying use the wood one, but really here, I'll switch in a moment too. The idea behind this is if you can do it without the block out or object, whatever it is falling, one, it's boring pretty quickly. Two, you're probably not playing. And three, there's nothing to learn or do. Like, it's like, got it, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come back to the back part of our mat, kind of to the side, and then take your block and you can decide, or object, and just place it on the top of your hips. So like on that triangle of bone at the base of your spine. And the block can be there. If you actually have a block, there are kind of 3 different positions you can put it in. Okay? The smaller the surface and the higher the block, the more challenging it gets. So I'm going to start pretty small, but I'm going to start with the foamy too. Okay, so we're here. And then you come there, and really it's walk the mat, or walk the block. Walk around the block. Yeah, like that. Okay, so lift, right knee, left hand. And try to do this, then the opposite, without dropping your block. And if you're finding, then you've got a little side shuffle here. And then you got to walk backwards. Whoa, that's coordinating another whole set of things. Okay. And then maybe you come across diagonal. Now, look, here's where, again, just as I was saying a few moments ago with the seated practice, this is wonderful mobility work. You see I'm having to concentrate. Come up, right up to the camera. All right. It's wonderful mobility work. It's also, if I can make the unabashed plug for play, not just as part of a yoga practice, but as part of being a human being, part of life. That might seem silly. Anyone that would make fun of you for doing that, they got their own stuff to work on. Let them have it. It's fun, it feels good, and it actually can have the capacity to improve not just your quality of life in terms of learning your ability to balance your body in space, but to connect with that kind of inner child, which I think we all benefit from. All right, last thing. And unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to think here just for a moment, but it's not that analytical thinking. It's thinking with your body brain. What feels like balance to you right now? So what position in terms of putting your body in? So that might be what we would think traditionally about being corpse pose. Oh, was that a joke? What were you going to say there? The peanut gallery was going to offer 2 cents. Okay, so this is my balance position for today. This feels nice. This feels like a really nice end. But you might be in a forward fold, you might be lying down, you could be seated. Notice your breath again, one final time. Eyes can be open if they are, because that feels more natural. Just let them get all fuzzy. In fact, to the extent that our bodies are taking any information in right now, maybe even the sound of my voice, ultimately, that would be the goal. It's all just input. It's just like stimulus, data, just random stuff. You don't have to name it, you don't have to judge it, you don't have to do anything with it. So like I can hear stuff in my environment, I can see stuff around that are distractions. Let it be. I gotta give the shout out, and not a plug of the program so much as just a plug of a teacher, my friend, who's doing a meditation challenge through one of the well-known apps this week, and a teacher of mine, Jeff Warren, a meditation where the central sort of observation was, whatever is happening, just right. And I've been playing with that all week. Just right, isn't it? It's such a cool way of approaching moment to moment to moment, if you can remember to do it. Not fighting it, just right. So just be just right with it if you can. And if you can't, that's okay too. Take a moment in silence. Slowly begin to bring a little bit of life back into your body. The little life would have left, but a little movement, a little motion. Okay, and coming to whatever position feels right for you to close the practice out. As you see, I'm sitting, just as we started the practice. Little word of explanation here. So again, just because we have had some newer people joining us recently, and I just want to make sure that the peculiarities of our group are more to the point, me and practicing with me, that they're explained. So at this point in the practice, just reflect without accounting for it. Just integrate what's happened. Allow yourself to just kind of be quiet and with it. And then closing the practice out intentionally, like you're actually saying, I've been here and now I'm moving beyond it into the rest of the day. You can do that by saying thank you, like thanking yourself for taking the time, because that is the biggest thing. It's a cliche, but it's 100% true. If you have a traditional practice and say namaste, this is your time to shine. I always say, and here's my explanation for it, I realize that maybe it sounds flippant perhaps, but it's actually meta. What I've been saying over the last year or more is peace in, which is truly meant to be a wish for inner peace, both for myself and for everyone else. And then it's peace out, the idea that hoping for peace in our world. So both turning the gaze in and turning it out seems like the most yogic thing to me, and it's authentic. That's when I want to thank myself and connect others, like all of you, for the practice. Beyond thanking you for being here, I wish you peace in and peace out. Okay, now I'm gonna log off of the recording, so be well out there on the interweb, everyone.